So I am on a journey to get to know as many Dead by Daylight creators as I possibly can, and so I started this little series called Interviews or Conversations by Daylight, whichever name I decide to go with this time. And today I am joined by quite possibly the most famous Blight Main in the community, Lilith Omen. Lilith, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. It's warm. There's no water for like my entire town, but it's going okay, dude. Yeah, not too bad. I'm that one blight guy.
For anybody out there who might not know who you are somehow, some way, you want to talk a little bit about you and your content and everything about what you do?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'm Lilith or James. I've been streaming. I don't know, almost about 4 years, 3.5 years on Twitch. YouTube content, all that good stuff. Got into Blight really, really early, back when everyone thought he was really bad. And I remember kind of playing him and being like, wait, hold on. This guy's sick. And I was 4King. I was doing like 50 win streaks. And then people come into the stream, with this kind of like idea that Blight's this terrible character. And then they'd be mind blown by, the J flicks and all the early kind of Blight techs. And over time, my channel's just kind of become that place to learn Blight or to discuss Blight and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So, if you're not aware, or people who are watching this aren't aware how this works, I have 10 questions, and then I pull 10 questions from the community, and then we just basically just have a little bit of a conversation. It's nothing major. We don't delve into personal lives or anything. We just kind of try to keep it to content and Dead by Daylight and all of that stuff. And I don't want to take up too much of your time, so let's go ahead and get started. And if anybody's interested in checking Lilith out during or after this, then all of his links will be in the description down below. So the first question I have for you today, my man, is what, in your opinion, is the best thing about Dead by Daylight?
The best thing, like the number one?
Yeah.
Specifically Kaiser de Bard's YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed over there, you are missing out on the single greatest channel in DVD history. To be honest, it's going to sound kind of wild, but I think my favorite thing about DVD is all of the... I mean, this is probably not going to sound wild as a Blight main, but like the tiny little like intricate texts and things you can learn on various characters, Wesker, Blight, because... within 1,000 hours, 2,000 hours, you can start to learn, the majority of the kind of stuff going on in the game. But then you discover that one thing, and you spend 3,000 hours perfecting it. And I wouldn't call myself like a perfectionist, but I really love spending time mastering these like intricate like movement details and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's I think honestly, that's probably what drew me to Dead by Daylight was all the different shit you can learn. Because like when I first started, people were like, the game's pretty basic, and after 1,500 hours, I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
I'm still learning shit. I'm still learning interactions,
yeah, totally.
And it's there's so much to learn in this game. I feel bad for anybody who's like, I just want to pick up and play this game casually. Motherfucker, you need an encyclopedia.
Dude, seriously, like there are people that come into my stream that are like, hey, I'm like brand new to DBD. Can you like tell me what to do? And I'm there like, oh, like, dude, what do I start with? Like, maybe if you had 1,000 hours, you would know like how the main menu works at that point. Maybe like, it's mind blowing, dude. So someone comes in, they're just like, hey, I want to like play Wraith or something. But even playing a basic hill like that, there's so many fundamentals to learn. But that's also kind of what makes it fun.
Yeah, I mean that's like I have a video coming up, not this week, but the week your interview is going to be going up. I have a video coming out about Wraith where I'm like, the thing about Wraith is that he takes all of your basic fundamentals and he just enhances them. Like he's the only killer in the game where basic fundamentals are amplified directly on him because he's the M1 he's the M1 killer of M1. And it's just totally. Yeah, it's insane. My next question is actually one that like I try to ask people who have you have like a lot of energy during your streams, like a shitload. I don't think I've ever been in your streams and there's a low point, and the only two other people I've seen like that are Captain Fister and Ghost Arcade, which are also both British people, so I don't know how that works.
Yeah,
if there's something in the water over there. But how do you keep that high point going for like basically the entirety of your stream?
Yeah. It's actually a really good question. I mean, I owe a lot of it, I think, to ADHD. To be honest, I think that is like a big part in just me being so constant all the time.
Hmm.
Um, the honest reality of it is that I just love streaming and I love DBD, right? Like a lot of people, kind of like talk crap on the game and say that they hate this and they hate that, but like ultimately you wouldn't have thousands of hours in a game if you hated it, right?
Oh,
Like
exactly.
if you really genuinely hated it, there would be other things to play, right? And of course there are going to be problems, there are going to be bugs or balance issues, but like I do love DBD, and more so, than just the game is the community. And just seeing people come together, like high hour players that want to master these intricate things, or low hour players that want to know how to. I mean, dude, like even like swinging for the power, right? It sounds like such a dumb, tiny little thing, but like just pressing M1 versus holding M1 and knowing when to hold M1 is like a completely different ballgame.
Hmm.
Um, and so to answer the question of energy, I'm always like focused on reading as much chat as I can. You know, kind of feeding off of their energy, and then I'm going, and then I mean, plus when you're playing Blight and you're landing like constant hits after hit, you jump over a building or you barrel roll into some poor Dwight's forehead, it's hard to not be excited all the time.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's that's I think for me, because like I'm ADHD as well. I think for me, I just sometimes I run into like problems and I get demotivated. I like watching you sometimes, like I've seen you deal with like bullshit like bugs and hitboxes and crap, and you just like let it slide off you. I admire that, because my entire mood shifts after a while.
Yeah, it's tough not to, though, man, to be honest. Like sometimes I'm kind of sat there and like, I mean, Blight has many bugs anyway. There's like a fatigue cancel bug, there's a bug where if you hit M2 and M1 at the same time, the survivors have no hitbox anymore. But like, if anything, it just starts to become funny. Like the game becomes so broken that it's almost as much a comedy as it is a horror. Like, and you're playing some map. You're in Red Forest, and they're abusing every bug they can. They've got the strongest builds. They brought the map offering. Like, eventually, it gets to the point where it's so imbalanced that I kind of struggle to take it seriously.
Hmm.
Um, which is why, I mean, outside of streaking and stuff like that, I don't bring perks. I don't kick gens because I don't really care too much about like winning. Like to me, it's just like the fun of the game. And so like if there's something buggy or annoying, it starts to become funny again. Um, and that's kind of how I avoid getting tilted and getting like upset about it.
Right. No, for sure. I definitely need to learn that skill. I feel like sometimes I just I get that really silent anger where
Yeah.
it builds and builds and builds, and then I have like 3 seconds of explosion, and then I just completely quiet down, and I just don't
Uh,
even talk, and I'm so pissed off, and I'm like, man, I need to chill, dude. Some mornings it's what, some days it's whatever. Some days it's just like, oh, okay, it's just another fucking day on Dead by Daylight.
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Totally.
it's definitely a learned skill that I admire for sure.
For sure. For
Um,
sure.
so something I learned only recently, I literally just learned this, I think like yesterday,
Hmm.
is that you're working on your own video game, and I was wondering if you could tell us more about the project and when can we expect to play it? Because I'm definitely making a video on it when it comes out.
No way, dude. On
Yes.
the Kaiser de Bard YouTube channel, the greatest thing in DBD. Um, yeah, I mean, it's really niche. It's a Game Boy Color game.
Hmm.
Not something designed to look like a Game Boy Color game. It is actually a game. Like the whole game is 1 megabyte. The entire thing. Um,
That is insane.
it's mind blowing, dude. In fact, like I mean, now I'm starting to add like a lot of content, and it's gonna sound crazy, but 1 meg is quite big actually.
Hmm.
Back when I had the demo, it was like 256K, I think. Um, which is ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, I actually went to university for game design several years ago. More so in the kind of 3D aspect of like modern game design.
Hmm.
And I've always loved the idea of making stuff. I've always liked discussing balance and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, I just kind of like started looking into creating like wanting to make like if I was a kid and I was and I was to make my own zombie survival horror game, like what would I want it to be? What are the features I'd want to have? And so kind of over the past 4 or 5 months, I've been putting something together. And yeah, it's been a ton of fun. There's a lot of like difficulties, I guess, designing for the Game Boy. There's a lot of like limitations. But I guess in a weird way, similar to Blight, is like the limitations and the difficulty of it is kind of what makes it fun, you know?
Right. I wanted to, when I was younger, I wanted to get into game development, but I cannot draw, nor do I have the patience to learn it. So I just stuck to telling dick jokes on the internet. But no, it's I saw the demo for it, and Squirtle did the music for it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, Squirtle
yeah.
Surgeon. I want to get him on this series. He's fucking
Dude, please do.
He's
Yeah.
hilarious, bro. I was playing Huntress on Mid Bitch last week, and somebody was like, "Can't you do orbitals on Mid Bitch?" I was like, "Yes, but my name is not Squirtle Surgeon, so I cannot."
Yeah, there is like a very specific like note to make there, is that like you can't do orbitals on Midwich unless you are Squirtle.
Yeah,
like if you are that particular dude, then sure.
Yeah, I was talking to Hext about it one day. I was like, I don't understand how. Like, I saw this one clip where Squirtle found like this one ceiling tile in a random ass hallway where he could throw it up and it would land directly on one of the exit gate switches, but it would only work when facing it from one way. Like you could, if you faced it from the right side, it wouldn't go through, but if you faced it from the left, it would. I was like, do you just walk around throwing hatchets at the ceiling until it goes through? Like, how do you find this shit, dude?
I have no idea, dude. I would be so fascinated to know the amount of hours that he has spent in a custom game just throwing shit through ceilings.
Like, that's like, if I get him on this, that's going to be one of my first fucking questions. Like,
oh, please.
Like,
kind of like a funny thing with Squirtle. I mean, I very strongly believe that he is the greatest Huntress in DVD history. Like, the stuff that he lands is so mind-blowing. In fact, I went against him when I was visiting the States last time. And like, god damn, it was on Dead Dog. And I was just kind of chilling there. And the orbitals are so high, I didn't even see... I didn't see them travel. And so I remember when I went to TwitchCon, I guess kind of like a funny side story. Me and him actually went for sushi, which is the first time I properly met him. And man, they must have regretted having like a buffet sushi option. I'm pretty sure it was like $35 a head or something.
Yeah,
we must, like, between the two of us, we must have cleaned like 400. He's a super nice guy, like so down to earth. I love Squirtle.
Yeah, no, he's like I said, I watch him all the time. He seems like a fucking fun as fuck dude.
Yeah,
for sure. So, next question is, you have the power to add one quality of life change to Dead by Daylight. Like, anything you want, you snap your fingers, it's done, it works perfectly. What is that quality of life change?
Oh, I'm on the spot now. This is a sign of a good interview. One single quality of life. You know, honestly, more maps. I think it's so sad to see killers like Trickster and Blight and Twins not released with anything. And even killers like Ghostface, right? Like the Ghostface teaser in the, like, you know, mall, I guess, the shopping center.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, how cool would that be?
Oh, yeah,
as
dude.
a map, you know? Twins could have some, you know, kind of like abstract French place. You know, Blake could have like a laboratory of some kind. Trickster would be insane, right?
Oh, Trickster would hands down probably have the best aesthetic map ever added to this game.
Yeah, but by a country mile, dude. And so, like, I don't know, when like if there was one thing I could change, it would be map quality. Just because, like, you know, now they've introduced like a second set of Macmillans, which I don't feel like anyone needed. And there's like 17,000 fucking Badam preschools, which is pointless, right? No one needs that many. They're all basically the same, you know. If you get sent there, it's going to be a bad time anyway.
Yeah, I made an entire video about the lack of map diversity in this game and how we need to fucking like remove all these variants and start focusing on adding actual original maps. Because if I got to play fucking 3 Badams in the span of 10 games one more goddamn time,
dude, and like the worst part is I mean, firstly, map repeat prevention doesn't work at all. I went to Pale Rose 4 times in a row, I think, yesterday.
Oh my.
But like, even if it did work, it's only preventing you from going to the same map twice in a row, not the same realm. So you could get Badam 1, then 2, and then 1 again, back to back, even if that feature was in the game. Like, I don't see why we need, like, RPD, for example, makes sense. You know, West Wing and East Wing, they do feel different. But like, I will die on this hill. I swear to God, right? Try and get anyone with less than 8,000 hours to tell me the difference between each Badam map. They will not be able to tell you.
No, you can't do it off the top of your head. And even if you could, because like the way what I figured out was because I did a video on it, and I went in to customs and I spent like 2 hours going from each of the Badams back to back with Wraith and Zenshin Tactics and just trying to see basically the difference between each of them. This is so stupid. Is which side of the school the rest of the map spawns on. The rest of the map is always the same. It's always got the single gen building. It's always got that building where you go down to the double side, like really powerful building. It's always got those. But it's just what side of the school those things actually spawn on. And I was like, I don't think we need that.
yeah, not even slightly, dude. And like the problem is, even if it's changing the side of like it's changing the location of where the buildings and tiles are adjacent to the main building, like you still have House of Pain, you still have Two Story and Shack. So it doesn't matter how far or what position they are from main building, they still exist, and it's still Badam.
And the gens are always in the most unpatrollable spots.
Oh, yeah.
In the like I even when I was talking with my chat about it one time, I was like, is there a single character in this game that can reasonably patrol the Badam gens? And I don't even think Nurse can do it right.
No,
because she walks too slow. So even she cannot feasibly go up the stairs of this building, down the stairs of this one, up the stairs of that one, down. This is the character who can blink through fucking walls. And even she cannot patrol this map effectively. No killer can. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy because, like, I mean, Nurse, like her mobility is a little bit kind of misconstrued, I think, most of the time. Like, she's not actually as fast at traveling as people think she is. But like, even if you think about main building, you know, inherently you might sit there and be like, well, she can teleport through walls and through floors,
right?
So therefore, it wouldn't be that bad because she can go down to the gen immediately. But firstly, you've got to be able to predict, you know, how far you need distance-wise to actually get down to the gen. But then there's like 14 fucking walls, right? Like that bottom section of main building with like the pipes and everything.
Yeah.
There's like turn, vault, stairs, turn. Like she isn't going to predict that.
Yeah, it's just it's atrocious. It honestly, I made a video where I was like the 3 worst maps in the game. I ended up naming Gideon's as the worst map just because it's fucking boring. Like I hate the absolute brainless nature of that map. But
really?
I cannot stand like pre-drop, break pallet, pre-drop, break pallet, pre-drop, break, and you just do that for like the entire like 8 or 10 minutes you're in that match. Like I hate it. I hate it so much. It destroys my soul. But like, I honestly to the like, if I were to redo that video and I was going purely off the most miserable experiences in the game, I would choose Badam as the worst map. Like any variation, just that is the most miserable experience in the game on Killer, even on Survivor, because I get lost sometimes on that.
Yeah,
I know I can navigate RPD better than I can navigate Badam on Survivor.
Yeah, which is crazy. So kind of 2 points here. One's about Gideon. I'll get to that in a second. The problem with Badam is that, like, even if you could get, you know, it doesn't have the same issue as, like, you know, Gideon, where it's pre-throw and stuff like that. Like, the issue being is that anywhere that a survivor can run to with just normal, like, hit distance is going to be safe, right? If they're a main building, they're safe. If they're, main building's ridiculously safe.
Yeah.
But then you have Two Story, and you have House of Pain, and then you have fillers into Shack. So, like, and Badam is a deceivingly long map most of the time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's pretty huge. And so if you have a killer that can't deal with someone holding W, you're screwed, dude. There's nothing you can do. And so one quick point about Gideon, and I understand that I'm kind of biased. I'm a Blight Main through and through. But Gideon might be one of my favorite maps in the game, only on the basis that, like, there's so much dumb shit you can do there with Blight. Like jumping over that one hole in the corner of the top floor that has like a pallet that people try and hole you in.
Oh yeah.
You that one, you can jump straight over it and like 180 into like, you know, some Claudette skull, right? The holes in the middle area you can jump over. You can get hits like around you know, the fences and things. Like when it's just breaking pallets, it does kind of suck. But like, I don't know, for killers like Blight, there's some cool stuff you can do. I'm kind of biased.
If your name is Lilith Omen, I'm sure it's a playground. I'm a Billy Main that still can't low pro flick properly, so
Same. I've tried it, dude. I sat there in a custom for like 3 hours.
Oh my
and
god,
I've given up.
I don't understand it. Like I will literally get the timing down perfectly. I'll swing my mouse around and I'll just bang off objects every single time I try to low pro flick. And I'm like, how the fuck are you? Like Numi, yeah, it was Numi. Numi posted a low pro flick where they bounced off 7 breakable doors in Dead Dog and hit somebody in a real match. Shit. And I was like, how the fuck? I
saw that one, yeah.
Did you, how would you even begin to even think about, it's like the Squirtle thing. Like, how many hours did you spend learning how to fucking do that? Because I can't, like, I use low pro purely to go against free drops. But, like, I like I said, my thing, even as Survivor, I hate Gideon's because it's just so brainless, dude. It's literally just run from one pallet to another. They're all safe. You can greed them if you want, but you don't have to, and you could still make matches or chases last a minute and a half for just nothing. Oh, it's so bad.
Absolutely. And it's one of the least I guess interactive maps in the game as well because of that reason. Like when I'm playing Survivor, there's no like if I'm playing a jungle gym on Cold Tower or something, I can think like, okay, I'm going to greed this pallet and then fake the window, go back around, and then chain it into main building or shack or something, right? There's like some interesting interaction you can do based on reading the killer. The problem with that map, with Gideon, is that you can't read the killer because they're often behind a wall. And there are no windows. There's nothing else you can use.
Yeah,
but the thing you do have is 50,000 pallets. So just throw a pallet and then move to the next one. And even worse than that is like you can always tell if someone's running windows within a second on that map.
Oh yeah,
because it would just be pallet.
Yeah, the real fun part is when you're running windows yourself and then someone's in chase and you can see the ores of the pallets falling one after the other.
Absolutely.
I run windows because I'm shit at looping, and so I need to be able to understand. And I'll be working on Gideon's. I'll be working on a gen on like the lower floor, and I can look up, move my camera up, and watch as pallet after pallet falls. And I'm just like, well, that's half of our resources gone. Oh man. So my next question is, if you could, so we've had Slipknot and Iron Maiden collabs in Dead by Daylight, and I personally want to see Sleep Token. What band do you want to see?
Oh, dude, that's such a good. Where are you getting these questions from? That's such a good question. Crap. Damn. So what I will say really quickly, I was disappointed with the Slipknot set.
Oh, I was so disappointed with that one. I was like, dude, after Iron Maiden, like
that Dredge one, dude. Although I am slightly disappointed, like very, very slightly disappointed with the Iron Maiden one. In like, why did Dredge not use the guitar as the weapon? That seemed like such an obvious pick. But fair enough.
Yeah.
Having Iron Maiden into Slipknot felt like such a downgrade. Dude, what a good question. Shit, I should have prepared for this.
That's why I don't send the questions beforehand. They're always so fun. They're so fun to listen to, like the thought processes.
Yeah, totally. I think Cannibal Corpse would be a pretty cool one. Many of those album covers you could fit into Killers, you know, Tomb of the Mutilated, stuff like that. I'm sure you could make a nurse skin or something kind of revolving around that. I'm trying to think. I mean, aesthetically, like mask wise, I don't know. I mean, what if you went for something like, Wayne Static from Static X? That'd be a cool, or like tribute. I think having like his mask in the game. That's such a good question. I'm so on the spot. I would say probably Cannibal Corpse, and if not Cannibal Corpse, something like. Oh, you got me with that one, dude. Oh, okay. If it's not Cannibal Corpse, it's got to be like DJ Khaled, I think.
That would be hilarious.
Custom chase theme and everything.
Yeah, that would be absolutely hilarious. Yeah, no, I was thinking because when I was writing the questions, originally the question was just going to be straight up like, "What's your dream collab for DBD?" But I feel like that's something every Dead by Daylight creator gets asked. Like we all get asked. Yeah, we got like of everything in the because like mine's Scooby Doo. My dream collab is
sure,
my dream collab is Scooby Doo. I want like a whole slew of Scooby Doo cosmetics, for the game. So that's why I changed it to like what band because like I know you're a rock guy.
Uh-huh.
I mean it's kind of easy to tell. Um, but yeah, no, I have been addicted to Sleep Token lately. So if they put Sleep Token,
totally.
they put Sleep Token in the game, I'm just gonna sell a kidney so I can buy like everything Sleep Token. Um, so a little bit heavy hitting, little bit more heavy hitting. What is in your opinion is the hardest thing about content creation?
Content creation, I think, so the reality of being a content creator, I think that's quite harsh and it's quite hard to take in sometimes, is that when you get popular for one thing, that is all you're going to be able to do realistically.
Mm,
Like, even if you are lucky enough and put the time and effort in to become a person of interest in a certain community or from a certain game, um as soon as you try and go variety, it's going to tank.
mm,
um and so there is a certain mentality that you have to go into things with, right? Like being a DBD content creator, and more specifically a Blight content creator. If I play Survivor on stream, my numbers aren't as high as when I play Blight. um and so you've got to be ready to be able to commit to something. Like, of course you can be someone more like Ots, who is going to be more generalized, right? But like, if you are someone like Squirtle, for example, or me with Blight,
mm,
that starts to become known for one thing, I'm fine with it because I love DBD and I love Blight. I could play him for hours and hours every single day. But like, the other part of that as well, is that, like, as a content creator, something that I didn't realize going into it is just the change in feeling, kind of having to do it.
right.
Like, I mean, I stream 6 hours of Blight near enough, 5 days a week. And, on paper, before I started streaming, I was like, damn, people get to play like Dead by Daylight for a living. That's incredible.
Yeah.
But like, the reality of that is that you have to play DBD, and often as a specific character, for like 6 hours a day.
Yep.
Which is fine if you are like ready for that, but like, it's something that I feel like a lot of people don't quite realize how pigeonholed you're going to be in that specific style of content.
Hmm. Yeah, you're fucking hit the nail on the head. I took a 3 month hiatus recently from Dead by Daylight because I was just the game was turning me into a toxic person. Like I was telling you earlier, I get like all the minor things build and like start pissing me off. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna go variety. And when I first announced it, like most of the people on the YouTube and everything, they were like, oh, we'll be here for whatever you do. And then I went from 20, 25 average viewers down to 3, and then all my videos went from easy 1.5k to 3k views down to like 200, and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I guess I'll and then when I finally made my return back to Dead by Daylight, I just watched them all climb back up. And so it's one of those things where if I want to enjoy other games, like I was talking about wanting to play your game, I follow a lot of indie devs on Twitter,
Hmm.
who have like a lot of really cool cozy games I want to play. I'm just gonna have to stick to offline with them. Either that, or I'm gonna have to like dedicate a different YouTube channel to making content around other games. Because as it stands right now, my current channel, the Kaiser the Gamer channel, is just strictly Dead by Daylight, and it's got to stay that way. And that's why it gets kind of frustrating. Like right now we're in what a lot of people consider to be Dead by Daylight's worst state it's ever been in, with all the bugs and rubber banding and desync and shit. And people are like, "Why are you playing it right now?" It's like, I don't have a fucking choice. That's how I pay my bills, man. Like,
Yeah, totally. And it's crazy. I mean, like, I'm fortunate enough that like I can drop some numbers and still be able to do this for a
mm-hmm,
living. But like, it is concerning because I mean that is like one stream. Like, I've played things like Resident Evil 4. and Outlast, and things that kind of go hand in hand with DBD's theme, I guess,
Yeah.
for the most part. But even still, it tanks. And
Mhm.
like, people, do in the same way they've said to you, they've said to me like, hey, don't worry, I'll always be there. And to be fair, there are a ton of absolute Giga Chad, viewers and
Yeah,
subscribers
for sure.
that are there, right?
For sure.
But at the same time, I can't really blame people. I don't think it's the viewers' fault because, like, I mean, ultimately, the reason why they found your channel was for that one specific thing. If
Yeah.
someone goes on YouTube and they're searching like how to play Blight, how to do the big funny Blight rush flick thing, they're gonna find my channel. And so as soon as I'm uploading, I don't know, some lawnmower simulator, like they're probably not going to come around, and I can't blame them for that because
Yeah.
that's not what they came here for.
Yeah.
But it's a reality that I think streamers have to come to terms with. If you
Mhm.
want to try and make a name for yourself and like a real platform and try and get anywhere with it,
Yeah.
is that like consistency is everything.
Yeah, and that's really like for me, that's what I kind of like. That's how I view it. Is like I don't blame you if you don't want to watch. Like I do the same thing. Like if I'm watching somebody first, like I watch Ots. If Ots is playing like Slay the Spire or something, I don't tune in for that because like I don't know about that game. It's like I don't blame people. It's like you said, it's a harsh reality that many people are not prepared for. Many people are just not prepared for it at all.
Absolutely, yeah.
Next question is one I kind of ask everybody, especially like experienced creators like yourself. Do you think that Dead by Daylight has the longevity to make it, we're coming up on the 8th year anniversary. Do you think it's possible for it to make it another 8 years, or is it time for them to like buckle down and start like really changing shit up?
Yeah, that's another really good question. Shit. It's something that I kind of ponder and discuss with my community a lot. In that, like, on year 2 or year 3, back in 2020 or so, which by the way is insane. I remember I was recently scrolling through the killer list and I saw that Blight was like halfway in the list,
Mm-hmm.
and I can't come to terms with the fact that Blight is half as old as the game is. That seems wrong. But anyway, yeah, it's on year 2 or 3, we probably didn't see it getting to year 8, realistically.
Mm-hmm.
Do I see it going another 8 years? Yes and no. I think that like DBD has proven itself amongst all of the games that have tried to compete with the same space. Things like Texas Chainsaw and Home Sweet Home Survive, stuff like that. The other ASIM horror games
Mm-hmm.
that they don't have what it takes to do what DBD does. Like it is completely uncontested. The problem with that is that it does need some competition. When you think of something like PlayStation versus Xbox, or like Overwatch versus Valorant, or whatever the game is,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the genre, like having competition is healthy because you've got to sit there and be like, how do we pull gamers back to our game? Like do we give them more characters, more quality of life, more balance changes, stuff like that? The problem with DBD, and this is very much, just to confirm, I love the devs. I think they're, fantastic, and they overall do a good job. Even if people don't really see it all the time, I think that they do try really hard.
Yeah.
But that would be negligent to say that I think they're perfect. And I do think they
Mm-hmm.
sometimes do take that for granted, the fact that they know that there's no one else contesting it. Like recently I saw Otz's video on the plague bug that was apparently in the game for like 6 years
Yeah.
that just randomly got fixed one day. It's, oh, by the way, this was how they were intended.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Does that mean in like 12 years time, like they'll be like, oh yeah, by the way, Wesker wasn't supposed to have 2 dashes, so
Yeah.
like what does that mean, dude?
That when he said that, bro, when I saw that video, I was like, that is absurd. That is like, just say you just wanted to update the character. Like, even if it's a fucking lie to me. Do not tell me you left a bug in this game for 6 years. Tell me you want to make this change. I don't care what the fucking excuse it. Be like, my grandma thought that Plague should lose her power on all stuns. I don't give a fuck what do not tell me that you left it, because like most people at this point like they call me a behavior bootlicker because I'm very defensive of the devs because I understand how hard game development is from like a background perspective, and I see a lot of the ways that they're trying, and I also see people's personal biases toward behavior kind of bleed through in the way that they talk about behavior. But like I was one of the first ones to stand up and be like, look, because you don't have competition doesn't mean you get to start cutting corners. Um, like there is no rest to compete with, but that doesn't mean you're going to last forever. And if you don't start making changes soon, we're not going to have any ASIM horror game to play. Like the licenses can only carry you for so long, man.
Yeah, and it's a good point. Because realistically, at this point, which is, I guess, like an extension of the question, is like in 8 years' time, like what kind of licenses can they bring? Because I mean, you have obvious ones like Friday the 13th, and if you want to go more pop culture, you could Five Nights at Freddy's, stuff like that. But like most of the big ones, when I think of like iconic horror, most of them are in the game already. We have Ghostface, we have Freddy, we have Chucky and Xeno, and all of those characters. Nemesis and Pyramid Head and Wesker, which are arguably the three biggest characters in horror gaming. And so it does make you think, like, how are they going to bring kind of new players from other genres or other franchises in if they've already kind of done the big ones, right? Like I'm pretty sure that when they released Nemesis, that was like the biggest the DVD's ever been, like player count wise. And that was awesome. I was so excited because it was another franchise that I loved coming into the game. But like as we start to go through all of the big franchises, kind of franchises, I'm gonna start to be less excited or less involved, you know. And the problem is, even if there was a franchise, like I personally would love to see like Clock Tower in the game or something
Clock
like
Tower
Fatal
is
Frame.
such a good one.
Right, dude?
Okay, we're back. All right, that was nice. My internet fucking chat itself. Awesome.
so no worries, no worries. It's all good.
Yeah, well, the good thing is that I'm recording locally, so we don't have to rely on.
Cool. Okay.
Okay. Back to we were talking about the possibility of Clock Tower and like minor stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Franchises like Clock Tower, or Fatal Frame, I would be excited for, but like, realistically, 95% of the DVD player base has no idea what those are. You know.
Especially Clock Tower, man. That's back from when I think you and I are close to the same age. I'm 30, but that's back when before we were gamers, Clock Tower started.
Yeah.
It was really popular. That's back in like the NES, SNES era.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it would be a cool franchise, and I would sit there and be like, "Hey, that's cool." And I kind of got the same feeling when Pinhead came to the game, because although he is like very iconic in the horror space, like his pop culture relevance, besides the new movie, which didn't even really feature Pinhead as Pinhead, is kind of non-existent. Most people that I spoke to in the DVD community didn't really know who he was. And it's to kind of wrap up my thoughts on whether DVD will go that long. I think if they're willing to pull the finger out and really work on maps and balance things and do things generally that make the community happy, right? Like I couldn't really care whether or not the game is 100% balanced, because if you look at it in like 2016, 2017, there was no balance to it anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like it was the most broken thing on the planet, but it was fun, and if the devs can really just focus on fun, then yes, it probably will last that long.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely one of those things. I was thinking too when you were talking about major franchises being brought in. Like at some point, we as Dead by Daylight players, like when Chucky got brought to the game, I didn't view it as Chucky came to the game. I viewed it as okay, what is this killer like, and what is their power, and how are they going to play? I viewed it like an original coming to the game, and I think that viewpoint is something that behavior needs to understand. A lot of people have. Like, at some point, people are just going to see them as a new killer in the game. They're not going to see them as their favorite. They're not going to see them as their favorite iconic killer. And so,
absolutely,
I think they definitely need to look at it. Speaking of updates, recently, in recent memory, Blight has been getting like a shitload of adjustments at this point. The RIP Hug Tech, rest in peace, got removed, and then his add-ons have been redone like what 3 times in the past like 6 months or something. Do you think it's time they just stop fucking with him, or does he need a few more adjustments?
I'm pretty sure the add-on's been adjusted 6 times, I believe, which is horrific. And Blight has had more changes in the past 6 months than any other killer has in DBD history. Um, well, personally, I think they need to stop fucking with it so I can actually make guide content and show people how to do stuff. Because it's so hard, dude. I'm not kidding. I've literally written like 4 guide scripts of like thousands of words that are now scrapped because they don't mean anything, right? Like the hug tech going has wiped out 90% of the text that I discuss about. Like they what they need to do. I mean, firstly, they need to not jump to massive conclusions, right? I think the Eerie tag was a really good example of this.
Mhm.
Like the original Eerie tag, for anyone that doesn't know, I guess, is you would bump 4 times into something, and then on your final rush, you would instantly down someone.
Mhm.
And in the hands of an incredibly skilled Blight player, that was the most busted add-on in the game. Like it was better than Nurse. It was insane. You could down an entire team in like 25 seconds. It was broken. But you never saw it because it was really, really hard to use. And so when I saw them start to adjust things in the first PTB, it's not in the game anymore. But what they had is they had a prerequisite to using Compound 33 that required you to get, like, in order to get the value from the add-on, you needed to rush more than, let's say, 4 meters, I think.
Mhm.
That on its own would fix the original Blight tag because you wouldn't get someone just bounce, 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 bounce hits. You would have to do 4 bounces of quite long distance. So it would now be really hard to use.
Right.
But the problem with the devs is that they don't like things that are really hard, that take a lot of time to master.
Mhm.
They like things that are just instant reward, speed, distance, everything like that.
Yep.
And so it's I mean the short answer is yes. They do need to stop fucking with him. They need to stop adjusting things and like um changing stuff on a whim because of complaints, right? Like when they changed Eerie Tag, it was infinite rushes, and
Right.
people jumped to this conclusion where it was like, wait, oh my god, Blight has infinite rushes. That's so OP. I can't believe it. But not realizing it had a 20-second cooldown.
Mhm.
Oh my god. Like it was the worst add-on in the game. But on paper, hearing infinite rushes sounds insane. So what did the devs do? They said, well, if adding more rushes is bad, then taking away rushes is good. So they gave you 3 rushes. Problem with that is that now you have a maximum 6-second recharge, which is insanely fast,
Oh yeah.
considering all the other benefits, the speed, the distance, the turn rate, the look angle, everything. And not to mention on top of that, in the last update, they changed shredded notes to not have a downside anymore. So it's now what, like 5 seconds for 3 rush recharge maximum? Like it's mind-blowing, and clearly the devs, I think, are just taking the overall, outcry from the generalized community, and changing to do with that, when ultimately that isn't really helping the character. If anything, it's buffing him most of the time.
Yeah. And I definitely agree that the developers, in my opinion, especially for a game like Dead by Daylight that's so fucking intricate and like impossible to remember like all the different synergies and shit, I think the behavior probably needs to start looking at getting like every killer, finding like 3 experts in the field. Like for Blight, it'd be you, Momo, I don't know the third Blight main, but it'd be like you guys, and then they're like, okay, so how would this affect the game? And then like not necessarily like do everything you guys say, but take your opinions into account. Like what happened with Twins recently, where Pixel Bush and Lynxy both stood up and was like, hey, this is not a good fucking idea. And Behavior was like, oh, okay, yeah, no, we see what you're saying. Like I talk about this all the time. My boy Revium is a Trickster main, and when the Trickster rework originally came, like a bunch of Tricksters like stood up and was like, this is not good. Don't do this. And Behavior was just kind of like they tried to do this like awkward middle ground that kind of fucked the character. And so I'd hate to see that happen with more characters where it's just I feel like Behavior needs to, first off, they need to use that Fog Whisper program for something more than come join our event. But second off,
Agreed.
I think they really need to lean into understanding like who it's not hard for them to find who the experts in the game are on certain killers. It's really not. I could put out a tweet today and be like, I want to interview fucking Trapper main. Nobody fucking plays Trapper. Nobody mains that damn killer. And I could probably get 5 names of somebody who
Mhm.
literally their all their content is just playing Trapper. You know what I mean? So it's just,
Yeah.
I feel like as much as I love behavior and as much as I feel like they do listen to us, they need to take it a step further and start pulling in people who play characters religiously to figure out what needs to be done to the character.
Totally. And I think like the unfortunate reality of that is that like there's this inherent like assumed bias of someone, right? Well, clearly this person is a blind main or a trickster main. What they're going to want is the character to be OP and to be as strong as they can because they love playing their character and they want them to be as strong as possible. They want them to be nurse, right?
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, I don't think that's what people want, right? Like, I mean, maybe nurse mains do because that's why the character exists. But like, someone who mains Trapper or Wraith, like they chose to main those characters knowing they were kind of bad.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, are there things they could do to buff them? Absolutely. But like the people that main those killers, aren't typically just looking for, massive buffs. They're looking for quality of life things, right?
Mm-hmm.
The kind of things that I've argued tooth and nail for Blight is stuff that makes him more accessible to new players, stuff that makes him, even if it makes him weaker, if he's more fun and interesting,
Yeah.
the more players, the better. Blight is a really intimidating character because just understanding the basic principle of his power is
Mm-hmm.
really hard to do. Um, because there are maps, someone could play 10 hours of Blight on Macmillan and be like, okay, I'm starting to understand this. Fillers and main buildings, not so much, but I kind of get it. And then they go to Hawkins and
Mm-hmm.
they're fucked. And
Yep.
so, like, quality of life things that can introduce new players to a
Right.
character to make it seem less intimidating. Point being is that like yeah, I completely agree with the idea that like they should get like a small selection of dedicated devotee people that play these characters because most of the time they've probably got some really good ideas that the devs haven't necessarily thought of yet.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, for real. Like you said, like with Blight, that's a great example. I thought I was going to be in my Blight main era until I started playing against survivors who knew how to press their A and D keys
Yeah.
to sidestep me. I get so like I get so frustrated where I'm like I'm on track to hitting a survivor and then they just take a step to the right and then the abysmal ass turn rate prevents me from fucking like getting them and I'm just like I get so demotivated, dude. I'm like for fuck's sakes, man. And that
Yeah, totally.
and that's why that's what it's something I wanted to talk. I thought about it and then it slipped my mind because I'm an idiot. But when you mentioned how easy they made Blight with the iridescent changes, like how strong he is, I am ass at Blight. I am so bad. Double Eerie Blight, me using double Eerie Blight, I just 4K every game.
Yeah.
It's like I when I play Blight normally, it's like I'm playing with my monitor off and in another room. Like it's horrible. But you put double Eerie Blight and I look like fucking Momo Seventh. Like
Yeah, totally.
it's crazy. Couple more questions before we get into the community section. What would
Cool.
you say is your greatest accomplishment in content creation?
Dude, these are such good questions. I mean, I'm not an egotistical kind of guy. I'm very, privileged and happy to be in the position I am, whether it's one person watching or 1,000. I'm just happy to be in a position to be able to make this kind of content that people enjoy watching.
Mm-hmm.
Um, more than anything, it's people coming in, because like the reality of Twitch streaming and content creation in general is that someone could come in and all that you see as a streamer is a username. You see the username, you see the color, and that's it. But like that person is an entire life that could be going through some real tough stuff. And just you being there and playing a character or making a joke or something funny or spicy or whatever happens, something interesting happens on the stream. And that's enough to make their day that a little bit better.
Yeah.
If I can make someone's day 1% better by just doing something like hitting some, something I love to do is if there's someone new in chat, I'll land a 180 and I'll dedicate it to them, or
Mm-hmm.
say something funny, or use various overlays, whatever it is. If I can make someone's day like that 1% better, because they could have had a great day, but they could have had a huge fucking work week and be feeling awful.
Yeah.
But they tune into the stream, and just for that 1 second, like all I could ask for is that 1 second. If they feel a little bit better or disconnected from the stuff going on,
Yeah.
then that is the biggest privilege I could ever be given.
Yeah, for sure. I wholly agree. So I was I tell this story all the time, but the reason I got into comedy, I used to be a stand-up comic before I got
No
into
way.
yeah. I when I was 9 years old, I sat down, I was watching the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Ron White, Jeff Foxworthy, Bill Engvall, Larry the Cable Guy.
Oh yeah, uh-huh.
And Ron White was up there telling jokes in the first Blue Collar Comedy Tour movie, and I looked at my granny and I remember being like, "Does he do that like for money?" And she was like, "Yeah." I was like, "He makes people laugh for money?" And she's like, "Yeah." I was like, "I want to do that." And I wrote my first joke at 9 years old. I did my first stand-up gig at 10. It was at a neighborhood kid's birthday. Yeah, it was at a neighborhood kid's birthday party. I made $5. And the joke was the first joke I ever wrote, and it was you ever wonder where babies come from? I used to try to figure that out myself, but then I went down the Toys R Us aisle and I saw all the dolls with the parts, and I turned to my mom one time and I said, "Mom, how much did I cost?" And she looked down at me and she said, 13 beers and a glass of wine. And none of the kids got it. And all the parents were fucking furious. And the mother of the kid walked up to my mom, handed me the $5 bill, looked at my mom, and said, "Never bring him here again." And it was that was the start of my comedy. And when I was in my teenage years, my mom sat down with me one time. She was like, "Why are you dedicated so much to this?" And I was like, "I would rather be people's reason to laugh than their reason to cry." And
Absolutely.
yeah, and doing comedy is just, this is just a transition into it. Making YouTube content and streaming and stuff like that is just a transition from my stand-up days. I just love making people laugh. I love entertaining them, and like you said, even if I can make someone's day 1% better, I've made their day 1% better. I have done something, because like I know what it's like to deal with where every day feels like a bad day. I don't open up much about this kind of stuff, but I suffer heavily from depression. And so being able to know that I can change that for someone else is insane. It's the most rewarding thing.
Yeah.
As a creator.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, so a story that I always like to tell people is, and it came from seemingly nothing, but like probably about 2 years ago or so, I did a subathon, and one of the goals was for me to play Blight with one hand. So no keyboard, it was just mouse. And I played Blight with one hand. I bound, W and spacebar to like the same side mouse button. And honestly, it was pretty fantastic. Like, it worked really well. You couldn't sidestep left and right, but like you don't really need to most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And people enjoyed it. People were like, "Wow, this is cool content." But then someone after the stream messaged me and was like, "Hey, I'm like an amputee. I lost my hand, and I've been watching your content, and I really wanted to play this game, but I never had." That they presumed that it was impossible, right? I mean, it's a game that is so involved, that has so many keys and things.
Yeah.
And since watching that gameplay, there is now an amputee one-hand Blight out there, probably 4King every single match. And it's stuff like that, that like if there is any way that my content inadvertently can help someone have a better day if they've had a bad day, or if they're struggling from something, if I can like inspire someone to want to do something, that is without a by a country mile, without a shadow of a doubt, that is the greatest thing that I could have. I could be gifted as a content creator.
Yeah, it's the greatest compliment, man. Like I have like, there's 2 people on YouTube, 3 technically, but like two to 3 people on YouTube who have told me like, "Hey, you inspired me to start making content," and then they show me their channels, and I'm like, "Me? Are you like me?" That's crazy. It makes me cry sometimes. Like holy shit, dude, you love my shit enough that like you wanted to start your own, and like I uplift them, like as long as the content's not like bigoted or anything. I don't support none of that. But like no, they're genuine. Like one of my VIPs, like he does genuine daily discussion videos. the fake Manette, and he was like, "Yeah, you were part of the reason I wanted to start making YouTube content. It was because of you I started doing it." And I was like, "That's fucking wild, dude." And he does it, man. He works a full-time job. I do this for a full-time job. I cannot imagine working a full-time job and doing daily uploads. Like he works a
Yeah,
full-time
absolutely.
job and he does daily upload. Like he's grinding, man. He puts
Yeah,
it's
credit to him.
yeah, it's insane. Last question before the community section is what's the next goal for you? Whether that be content creation or a life goal or like what is your next
Mhm.
major accomplishment you're working toward?
Um, could I give two? I guess like
Yeah,
briefly.
yeah.
Um, well, I mean, like real life wise, I'm engaged to a girl that lives in America. I'm from England. And she's really cute, and I want to live there. So that's a big one. The problem is that like moving into the States is really
Oh,
complicated, and
it's a bitch.
it fucking sucks so hard, dude. But that is like a very personal one. Um, as far as content creation goes, I mean, like I've had a lot of stuff going on for the past kind of like year, 2 years or so, like personal things. Not only that, but just like really like for a long time, I kind of got into this habit of uploading videos to YouTube that I didn't feel 100% inspired by. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of felt like I was doing it because I had to, and I understand that, and I don't blame people for doing that. But like, it was to the point I'd upload a video, and I wouldn't even go back to check the comments because like it was just it wasn't bad content, but it wasn't inspiring.
Oh my god, I feel
Um,
that so hard.
yeah, dude, and it sucks. And like recently, I've taken like a not like a hiatus, but I've been quite slow with YouTube uploads. I used to do like two a week. It's now kind of one every month or so.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like the main goal for me, the next kind of like big step is getting back into the YouTube space, but with something a little bit more I don't know, interesting, I guess. Like,
Mm-hmm.
of course, I still want to do the Blight gameplay and the guides and all that kind of stuff. But things like short form content, the like if I can do like a 30-second YouTube short, like a TikTok, where I explain how to play Shaq or something like that, like
Yeah.
something that I produce and I edit. Because to be honest, I mean, people like you and people like Kaito, I think, and there are so many fantastic content creators that are really inspiring, and I watch them and I'm like, damn, like the editing style, like the length of the video, the kind of like how quickly they get to things. Um, it's really inspiring, and it's kind of like shifted my outlook, over the past kind of 6 months or so. And like, yeah, getting back into like making good quality YouTube videos that I sit there and I render and I watch and I'm proud of is definitely the next big step for sure.
Most of this interview has been me listening to you and being like, "Wow, is that me talking?" Instead, this is the version of me that's British and good at the game. Like, cause like I recently came to that realization where I was like, I would upload a video and then I always upload a video and then I go watch it on one of my other channels. To like kind of see what it looks like from that perspective because my channel it like pretends like I'm like subbed and everything or not subbed but channel
Yeah,
member in
uh-huh.
that pretends I'm a channel member and shit so I like to watch it from a different channel to make sure everything's on the up and up and I got to a point where I was not even paying attention to my own content anymore. I was like I'd put it on the second monitor and then I wouldn't. It used to be when I uploaded videos like even though it was me and I knew what I was going to say like the content was engaging, it was something that like was enjoyable to listen to, and I just realized that god my content has been a lot of people are like, "Oh, I loved it." I'm glad you guys did. I fucking didn't. I thought it was shit. I thought it was low effort dribble, and so starting the Tuesday after we record this interview, the 7th, I'm going to like the new style of content. I'm going back to scripted for every single video. I've started putting background music. I'm doing more editing, more engaging stuff, and it's just one of those things, man, where you as a creator you get kind of complacent
Yeah.
with the way things are. And I was like, I when I realized my complacency, I was like, I can't do this. If I want to grow as a creator, I can't continue to push out content that I don't even want to watch myself. You know?
Yeah, 100%. And like weirdly enough, it kind of stems for me from a quote I remember from like I'm not sure what band it was, but I remember hearing a band interviewed about their new album, and someone asked them like, "Do you listen to your own music?" And they said, "Fuck no, of course not." And it was really weird to me
Yeah.
because, like, you know, this I guess is advice to anyone that's looking to make DBD content or content in general, is that like ideally, you know, you should be filling a void of some kind of content that you think should exist but doesn't, or maybe a different style or a different format or whatever it is, right? You want to
Mm-hmm.
make something that is categorically you. And ultimately, what you've got to ask yourself is like, if this isn't content that you would watch, then how can you expect anyone else to want to watch it, right?
Exactly.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. And so, if you put out something and you're really proud of it, the editing, the pacing, everything, the script, and you sit there and you're like, this is the kind of content that I want to watch, and now I'm finally releasing this, then there's probably going to be a ton of people out there that hopefully will get recommended this stuff that's like, hey, this is like content that I also want to watch. You know, if you aren't interested in what you're producing, you cannot expect anyone else to be.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's that. Yeah, exactly. It's that mindset. And it's just that one thing. So, like I said, we got community questions. Now, we didn't get any questions on Twitter. We did end up kind of having to schedule this last minute because Lilith is like Blight. He's very hard to get a hold of. Um, but it also was just kind of one of those things where we had a day planned, and then something came up for me, and then we had another day planned, something came up for him. So these were pulled from the YouTube community section.
Cool. Okay.
But we're gonna go ahead and we'll start off with Galaxy Love Demo asks, do you know about the new J Slide tech that was discovered, and if so, what do you think about it?
Hello, Galaxy. Hello. Hope you're having a great weekend or Tuesday when you're watching this video. Um, it's really tough because I've been discussing this one on stream, and I promise I'm not trying to come across like I'm gatekeeping text or names or anything like this. But I've watched the content on the J Slide, and so the fundamental concept behind the J Slide is that if you look away from something, then you're able to slide on it. Whereas if you were to look into it, you bump. It's called look angle. And so Blight has. I'll try and get through this as quickly as possible. Blight has two different forms of collision detection. Because his primary collision detection is something called raycast, which is like a line that comes out of them. If you imagine like in a shooting game, right,
Mm-hmm.
where you aim at a gun and it shoots right at the middle of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a raycast is.
Okay.
He then has a direction of velocity collision detection, which is where that's the direction that you are traveling, but not necessarily looking in. And so if you look, if you're traveling towards a box and you turn your camera to the right, your shoulder is still going to collide with it. Um, the only problem I have with the J Slide, and it's awesome that people are finding, you know, stuff to do with Blight. I'm glad that it's inspiring people. That is something that we have been doing with Blight for about 4 years. Like the two forms of collision detection, like trying to slide on things intentionally, isn't a new tech, per se. But I'm glad that people, because more than anything, that specific thing has been ignored by the majority of Blight players for the longest time. You know, typically people want to learn the hug tech or the J flick or whatever, you know, big, crazy, flashy thing that was at the time. Shoulder bumping was always kind of not that cool. And so seeing it become more popular and seeing more people discuss it is really, really cool. It's not so much like learning a new tech. It's a different name for something. It's a different name for something that we've already had in the game.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That is, yeah, that's something people have been asking me about it, and I'm like, I don't know, bro. I'm not. I was enamored enough with Blight to buy the purple skin that he has, that purpley like plague doctor looking one
Oh
that
yeah,
he's got. I love that skin. That's my favorite Blight skin. I was enamored enough with him to buy that, and that's about it. I don't know anything about Tex or um
yeah.
but okay, that's actually interesting. I love when people are able to like tell me like technically how the thing works because it makes
Mhm.
understanding it a lot easier, I feel.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always tricky because like I'm fully aware that like my understanding of Blight, I mean, it majoritively comes from the devs, believe it or not. Back in the day, the guy that designed Blight was a guy called McLean. Um, and he used to stream and kind of discuss this stuff pretty frequently. Um, and so I was kind of able to confirm a lot of details and learn things about him from the devs themselves. Um, And so, I mean, I've always been a technical person. I've always liked the idea of like really understanding what is making a character do something. And so, yeah, it's always fun.
All right. Next question comes from Mazum. He asks, if you were to redesign Blight with a different power, what would you do?
Oh, okay, great question. Yo, what's going on, Nazem? If I could, I mean, I'm kind of biased. I love Blight in and of himself. I love the fact that he's fast and he injects orange juice and he's clearly really, really cool and handsome. Um, if I could change anything, it would almost be like, okay, and don't misconstrue this. I'm not saying give him overheat because that's dumb, right? More like overdrive. So, Blight injects himself after every single rush that you do. If you swing at someone, if you miss something, he does the big inject.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't it be cool? I mean, it makes sense that if you're injecting constantly, that would start to affect his power. For example, let's say that you go into like not an overdrive, but almost like a like an over injection state, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the more that you inject, there's a plus side, but also maybe a negative, right? It makes you faster, but reduces turn rate, or it increases look angle, but maybe reduces distance or something like that. Like something that will on the fly modify how he works and how spicy the hits are. And that would add a whole extra skill ceiling, knowing like how injected you are, how drugged up he is at that one particular point in the game, and knowing like because I've injected this many times and the bar's this full, I can start to do some crazy stuff and go for these big flicks that I otherwise wouldn't have landed.
Yeah. That actually sounds like a lot of fun.
It sounds cool, right?
Oh yeah, it really does. I think like as a Billy main myself, my only concern would be people like yelling about overtuned like they do with Billy. When I started picking up Billy, people were like, I don't like playing against Billy. He has no counterplay. I'm like, just press D, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Like, just press D. Press D. Learn how to hug loops a little bit tighter. Like, trust me,
Yeah.
Billy has counter. You and I both feel this pain. You can crouch and avoid me. I guarantee you, the character has counterplay.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
I hate crouch checking so much, dude. Yeah, if behavior let me snap my fingers and remove one thing from this game, it would be fucking crouch checking. I hate that shit so much.
There's nothing more annoying than seeing like that one. It's always the same cosmetics, right? That one fucking smug Nia sits there in the corner of chat and she just crouches down, right? She's basically prone at this point, and she knows that you can't hit, and you chainsaw into nothing, right?
Yeah.
Oxygen has just been sawed in half.
Yeah.
And she's so proud of herself. She's like, yes, I've just pulled off the single greatest feat in DBD Survivor history.
Yeah, this fucking, and then you get to the end game chat, and she's like, "GG easy," and I'm like, "Fuck off." This.
I mean, dude. Even worse than that is like when they get absolutely annihilated. Right? She crouch attacks you 4K. They brought the strongest maps as 4 BMPs, and they still want to shit talk you.
Yeah,
like that's my favorite thing is it doesn't matter that they got shit on, doesn't matter there were 5 gens remaining, right? The fact that she landed that one crouch tech is enough to give her the strength to shit talk you in the post game.
Oh my god, it's ridiculous, man. Gunna asks, before the reworks, were you worried when Behavior announced they were reworking Blight add-ons, and now recently they removed his skill expressive hug text? How are you dealing with the changes now?
That's a fantastic question. Was that from Gunna?
Gunna.
Hello, Gunna. Yes and yes. The add-ons. I mean, I've been an advocate for changing Blight add-ons for the longest time because it's the one thing that, like, if people were bad at playing the game, and they died against the Blight, it would often be just blamed on the add-ons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, to be fair, often the add-ons were broken. They were kind of busted, but like more often than not, what I would see is someone would die due to just a standard bit of bump logic, and they'd be like, "Oh my god, Alkring." It's like, no, you're just bad. The reality is, when it comes to the changes, I mean, again, I was advocating for changes for a long time. I wanted, changes for the Alkring. I still want a change for Placebo Tablet, very specifically. Compound 33 was stupid. Airy Tag, in my opinion, was fine, but when they started to discuss changing them, I was mostly on board. You know, the Alcring change I thought was interesting. Irritag and C33 have gone through so many changes. I don't even know what they do anymore. But like, I mean, I do, but it's only because I've spent 40 hours a day, you know, playing him. You know, it was very confusing to identify what their goal was with the character. And at the very least, my biggest problem with the new add-ons or the changes compared to the old ones is the old ones were really easy to understand. You know, if you hit someone with the Alcring, it gives the rushes back. That's it. Irritag, if you bump 4 times and hit someone, they go down. Easy. If you run in Combat 33, you run into a pallet, it breaks. Easy. Right? Like, if I was to tell you what Double Eerie does now, so Double Eerie increases your speed by 20%, your look angle by 30 degrees, right? Limits your rushes to 3. If you combine it with Combat 33, which is even more threes, like increases your turn rate by a percentage, as well as your distance by a percentage, like it's so confusing. And like that isn't that isn't okay because like new players to Blight are gonna be so fucking confused because like dude, the worst one to me is look angle. I love look angle, but 99.9% of all players in this game have no idea what the difference is between look angle and turn rate. And like focusing add-ons on doing these things is just going to confuse more and more people.
Mm. Yep. I think I have a video coming out about this Friday, Saturday, something like that. Where I think the behavior relies a little bit too much on raw number increases for their add-ons. And it gets really fucking infuriating because it's like, oh, cool, now you're giving me stats like Trickster has a add-on that buffs his combo. Nobody fucking knows what that is. Behavior.
Trickster has a combo? Wait,
yeah.
what?
Yeah, so the way Revium explained it to me is if you hit knives without missing, there is a combo meter that you can see in the top right where we get our blood point events. You can see, and for each how did he describe it? For each combo you do, the main event, I believe, is like the timer of the main event is increased, so it lasts longer. And the add-on increases the time window that you can pull a combo hit off. So if you hit a knife and then you wait X amount of seconds and hit another knife, it doesn't count. But the add-on decreases that window. So then it would count. And it's like,
huh?
Yeah. It's so fucking overtly complicated, and we have an add-on that references this obscure-ass shit that's not described at all for no reason other than you wanted to throw raw number increases at us. Like, it's so bizarre, dude. You'd have to, like, ask Revium. I don't know if you know who Revium is. He's a trickster, man. I love him to death, but you'd have to ask Revium to explain it, because he can do it far better than I can. But yeah, it's stupidly complicated for no reason. Absolutely zero reason.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm not a trickster player. I don't really play him very much. But like, I mean, which is the mind blowing thing is that I've got almost 9,000 hours in this game, and I had no idea. Has that always been a thing? The combo thing?
Combo's always been. I don't know if it's always been done the same thing though. Because I did notice wild. I did notice it when I played Trickster for a while, because I did a video dedicated to Trickster way back in the day. And I noticed the combo, but like I always thought it was just blood points. I didn't know it had an extra effect. I thought it was just for free blood points. Yeah, and there's a bunch of shit like that in the game. Like your overclock on Singularity lasts longer for every survivor slipstreamed.
I did know that one. Yeah,
that's another one that's like nobody knows. One that I found out when I did my Myers video is that you do not gain faster stalk from stalking more than one person at a time. Instead, the point value for your stalk is just split between them.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So you're...
if I've got 4 survivors standing in front of me and I stalk all 4 of them...
It goes up at the exact same rate as if you were stalking one from the same distance.
No.
Yeah. So what it is that your stalk is based off of a point value. Let's say 500, for example. And every survivor, 500 to tier up, and every survivor has, 100 stalk. And So instead of getting, you would get, let's say you drain 1 stock per sec, or you drain like 4 stock per second from one survivor. Instead, all 4 survivors, you would just drain 1 stock per second from each of those 4. So it makes zero difference if you're stalking multiple people at the same time. All it does is reserve more stock per individual, but it does not let you tear up faster as Myers.
My mind has just been blown.
Yeah,
That's insane.
It's so shit, dude. It's so shit. It's like, this game has so much crap they just do not explain to you.
Well, I mean, the worst part is though, like similar to the plague thing. Is that a bug?
Yeah.
Was that intended? Like no one knows anymore.
Yeah. We have no idea. We gotta rely on like data miners and people to like spend 25 hours in a custom testing shit and just please talk to me, behavior. That's all I ask, man. just tell me what this shit does. Live, I hope I pronounced that right. I hope I didn't butcher that. Says, will you still be the Blight guy, or will you be on the lookout for a new main? I'm assuming because HugTech got removed.
Yeah, for sure. Hello, Live. I'm also presuming hoping I said that one correctly. No, Blight is still going to be my main guy. Like the reality is that Blight didn't have a HugTech when he first released. I can really quickly explain to you why the HugTech existed, if you want me to.
Mm-hmm.
So 4.7.1, which by the way, I mean, first point, I'm not sure if many people know this, but Blight released on 4.2.0, which is the coolest fucking patch ever. But like, no, 4.7.1 is when they changed the big, the big change that removed the J-Flick and introduced the HugTech. But it was actually the patch before that when Trickster was introduced, where his POV was heightened. And often people complained because his POV was like hag height, he was very, very short, and so you couldn't see over objects. The problem the devs had at the time is that because, like I mentioned earlier in the interview, Blight's collision is based on look angle from the middle of his camera. And so if you make him tall, there are short objects that he might not see anymore. And so what they did was they adjusted it so the verticality of the look angle was now taken into account. So if you had some, and this isn't the case anymore due to them removing it, but what would happen is you had like the benches in front of Ormond, I think are a great example.
Mm-hmm.
If you ran into those like, face first looking forwards, you would bounce. If you look down on those, you would slide. And that was an intended mechanic. The idea was that it added to the skill ceiling because you could choose in certain areas and certain objects what to collide with and what to ignore. And so point being is that like Blight originally didn't have a HugTech, and I still loved playing him back then. That hasn't really changed. In fact, I'm really enjoying current Blight, despite still being upset about the HugTech removal. He is still a ton of fun, and it kind of feels like I'm going back to learning original Blight, where my bump logic has to be very, very fine-tuned, and if there's something else in the game that is going to force me to spend 1,000 hours in a custom game in Cold Tower figuring out the exact, a calculation of where I can hit a car, to me, that's kind of exciting.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely get that. It's I think the removal of HugTech did more to raise Blight's skill floor than it did to lower his skill ceiling. Do you think I'm accurate on that?
I completely agree. I think so. I mean, so something anecdotally that I can say from experience with people in my community and being like the face of Blight online, is that there were so many people that came into the stream that like admittedly thought Blight was a very complicated character, because he is. He's pretty intimidating. But they'd see me do something cool with a HugTech, and they'd be like, "Wow, like that's really cool," and it would kind of introduce them to something they could do, which often wasn't going to be the most efficient thing they could do. It wouldn't be the most guaranteed way to get a hit, but it'd be something that would allow them to get into playing the character and having fun in the game.
Yeah.
And I'm always pro fun. If there's something, even if it's imbalanced, right? If it's fun, then awesome, right? That's what we should be striving for.
Right. Silease does not have a question, but they did say that they gushed really hard when they saw you performing HugTechs on controller, and they were really excited about that.
That makes me really happy. So something I can say on that really quickly. Also, I hope you've had a wonderful week so far. Is the the problem is people will see players like myself or Momo, or Xeno or any of these Blight players, and they'll think, "Wow, that's amazing." But all of them are playing on mouse and keyboard. Therefore, the reason why they can do that is because they're on mouse and keyboard. You know, they'll try and do something on a controller and it doesn't work the first time. And they're like, well, I'm not going to bother trying because clearly you can only do this on mouse and keyboard. I can promise you that is not the case. If you come into my stream, or I mean any stream of people playing Blight, everything they're doing on mouse and keyboard, you can do on controller. You know, the reason why I make it look so easy is that I have like what 3,500, 4,000 hours on Blight, and so it's going to look easy because I've done it 1,000 million times. But like, you know, it always blows people's minds when I bring out the controller. And, you know, I'm not the best controller player. I'm not the best with accuracy, but I understand Blight timing, and I can show them 180 flicks and hug text and double back moon rushes. And they turn around, they're like, "Oh my god! Like you can do that with Blight on a controller?"
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you know, like please do not get put off of playing Blight on a controller. Like you can do all the spicy, awesome stuff. It's just going to be a case of like translating that to analog sticks.
Cool. That's you know that's something that's not very common. Like playing Nurse on controller and playing Nurse on mouse and key is two completely different experiences. Because you almost have to be able to 180 flick with Nurse. If you blink too far, you have to be able to whip around in a quarter second, and that's just not possible on controller. I have talked to people who try to play Nurse on controller, and they tell me it is absolutely fucking miserable half the time. Just Rue asked, "What makes you play Dead by Daylight? Like, was it a specific character, a license, or something else that brought you to the game?" I'm assuming nowadays the answer is Blight, but like, what brought you to the game?
Yeah, that's a great question. Hello. I mean, I very much a horror gamer, you know, through and through. I grew up with horror. I consume any horror that I can get my hands on, like especially zombie or slasher stuff. Um, and so of course, you know, I love Michael. I loved Saw. You know, I've got like 4 Saw tattoos, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I saw that Michael was coming to the game, because I'm pretty sure I started playing at the very end of 2016. Very, very early on. And it was a horror game, it was on Steam, and I was like, hey, I'll play this game. That's all. It's another horror game. And I mean 2016 DBD was not a fun time. It was fucking brutal. You know, like BNPs would finish a gen instantly. I'm not kidding. Like it sounds crazy to think, but you could go into a game and there could be 4 gens done in about 10 seconds. Like it was the stuff of nightmares. But then Michael came to the game, and I was like, "Oh, dude!" But like I was playing very kind of casually at this point. I wasn't super invested in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Funnily enough, the franchise that got me really back into playing and being committed to this game, was the pig. It wasn't my favorite character. It wasn't one that I played a whole lot, but just the fact that they had Saw just kind of opened up to me because, you know, I was thinking like they had Leatherface and Michael, you know, kind of huge names in the horror, you know, kind of industry. But like Amanda and Saw, not really the kind of things that you would see typically in a game like this.
Yeah.
And I was kind of sad there, and I was like, damn, like that. I mean, what options do we have? Like, I mean, could we see Pyramid Head one day? Could we see Nemesis? You know, could we? I still don't believe that Chucky's possible, but apparently he is.
Yes.
You know, that was mind blowing.
The biggest part of contention for all of us who played in a pre-Chucky era. Like, how the fuck is this character?
Yeah, dude. Like, for the longest time, I always used to tell people, because they'd be like, you know, what kind of killers do you want in the game? And I'd be like, Candyman's possible, and the Thing, and stuff like that. I would always tell people that we will not get Chucky, because how the fuck do you make that character work? Like, he's tiny. Like, how is he gonna? Like, people were saying, oh, but he could have like mini hooks. It's like,
yeah,
no, that wouldn't work.
Yeah,
you know, because there'll be no space between their feet and the floor.
Yeah.
You just unhook themselves, right? Like, but you know, to give behavior credit, actually made it work.
Yeah.
You know, like having the ghost hook people made so much sense.
Having
Chucky.
No, go for it.
Oh no, I was gonna say having Chucky be third person was revolutionary. Like, it was something that I never expected, but it worked.
Oh yeah, those of us who played in a pre-Chucky era, bro, like for the rest of our lives, when people are going to be like new players come to the game and everything, it's going to be like, you don't understand how unrealistic it was to us for a killer to have a third person camera. Like, we'd never thought they would ever do that, and behavior made me look like a goddamn fool because I made an entire video dedicated to Chucky never coming to this game because of the limitations, and a month later, they released the motherfucker into the game. I was so like, when I was doing my overview of Chucky from the PTB, when I did the video for the PTB review, the very first thing I said was, if one of you motherfuckers brings up the fact that I said Chucky can't be in this game, I swear to God. Like, my video from a month ago, just like the day Chucky got announced, I got like 30 new comments that just said, this video aged like milk. I was like, motherfucker. I still think it would have been hilarious if, instead of the Charles Ghost carrying people, Chucky just dragged people around by their ankles and then just threw them up onto the hook. I thought that would have. I think that would have been fucking hilarious.
I totally agree, but like, can you imagine the outroar of the Survivor section of Twitter? If like, can you imagine trying to blind that guy? Like, he's what, 2 feet tall at best? Like,
oh, there's already problems trying to blind him when he breaks a pallet.
Oh yeah, exactly. He's really hard to blind. So at least having the ghost gives you like some proper verticality.
Yeah,
like, he would be a nightmare.
And right now, as we're recording this, Ghost is fucking invisible.
Yeah, that still bugs. And Birkin has no hair for some reason.
Oh my, does Blight? I haven't played Blight since the PTB for the mid chapter. Does his shoulder still dislocate when he tries to mori somebody?
Yes, but it's worse. So like, if you use like most Blight cosmetics just have like dislocated shoulders and the head's kind of in the body.
Mm-hmm.
If you use the ice body, like the Prime Gaming one, he just doesn't have a head at all. And then if you use Birkin, he's broken. Like, his hair is where it should be, but the head is too low, so he's bald. And like, the arms are all fucked up. Like,
I discovered the other day, I don't know if it's just with the Minotaur skin, but Oni doesn't have a head when you mori people. His head's just fucking gone. It's just fucking gone. It's so fucking funny.
Well, why am I not surprised though?
Yeah. Speaking of skins, Mr. Cookie Cutter asked, what are your top 3 favorite Blight skins? They say theirs is William Birkin.
Birkin's such a good pick. I understand that a lot of people don't like Birkin because he's loud and everything, but like, you put yourself in my shoes, right? I play DBD, specifically Blight, for 6 hours a day, like 5 days a week, plus other content, plus testing things in customs. Like, I have heard him do his growly bump thing. Like, it's absolutely mind-blowing. It is a terrifying amount of time that I've spent hearing Blight growl. And so having a character that sounds different, but still being Blight, is amazing. It's the coolest thing ever. And so, I mean, plus the Birkin, like, pipe, like, clonk sound is, it's upsetting that it doesn't make that sound when you hit Claudette in the forehead, or, like, you know, Jake or something. I do think it should still have that metallic sound to it. But, like, yeah, top 3 favorite skins. Birkin is number 2 for sure. Coolest thing, plus the voice lines. Like, in fact, pro tip: if you've not heard the unique voice line for him opening lockers, that's what I recommend you try, because I'm not going to spoil it, but it's really, really cool. Third place, I think, would be the same one that Kaiser, I think, uses, which is the kind of purple crow-looking thing. That one's sick. As well as my first place one is, without getting into too much detail, like, back in the day when Blight first came out in September 2020, there was a grand total of 2 people streaming Blight. There was me and an American guy called Ascension. And both of us had like these unique skins that were identifiable. He was known as the Blue Blight. He used the blue recolor. And my one was known as the Bloody Blight. It was the prestige body, Ironbone cane and the parasitic pustula like vegetable looking headpiece.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always that might be my favorite piece in DVD history because it's so confusing. It has this body horror, almost like Dredge vibe to it. Because
Yeah.
like when you see a face, you know, you see eyes and a mouth, you kind of it makes sense in your head what it is. Like that cosmetic, it has like a plant come out here, and I think it's an eye, but it's not. And then like it's such a mess of something. But that mystery is what makes it so cool to me. So yeah, those three specific pieces are my go-to.
I thought you were going to say Ferryman. I'm not going to lie to you.
Oh shit! I forgot about that one.
I've seen you use Ferryman like so often. Like that's actually how I found out about the Ferryman skin, was just watching you use it. I was like, oh, the Ferryman is really like when I was gonna buy a Blight skin, because I don't spend a lot of money on this game. I was like, it was between the Purple Crow and the Ferryman. And I ended up going with Purple Crow just because I like the purple a little bit better.
Yeah. I'm sorry, guys. I might have to go for Ferryman number 3. Actually.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand.
I kind of forgot that one existed.
Yeah. Kaido asks, do you think there will ever be a killer more fun than Blight to you? And if so, would you change your main or still stay with Blight?
That's a great question. Hello, Kai. Honestly, no. I don't think. Like, I'm not kidding when I say this. And again, we kind of discussed this earlier in the interview, but like, you know, a lot of people dog on DVD and say, you know, they kind of joke about like the game being bad or not enjoying it, whatever. But again, if you really didn't enjoy it, you play something else.
Yeah.
Like I love DVD, you know, all truths considered. And Blight is just kind of everything that I need in a killer that I like. You know, he has the interesting, you know, kind of like high skill ceiling flicks and techs and things like that. He's a killer that I can dedicate like 1,000 hours into and always see improvements and things that I can do to improve. And like to me personally, this is a very specific thing. Like mobility is something that is game changing for my enjoyment of the game. Not so much for getting around maps, but like, have you ever? I mean, I'm saying this like what's the word there? I'm trying to think. Actually, I'm saying this like in a way, presuming that you haven't been in this situation, when I can guarantee you have. When you're playing as Trapper or Pig or Freddy, and you hit someone, all the gens have been completed, the doors are open. You are halfway across the map from that door, and you hit them with an M1, and you know full well that all they've got to do to survive is just hold W, and they have enough distance to escape. Yep. And there's nothing you can do about it. Yep. Like, that there is, to me, the worst feeling in the game, knowing that you have been outplayed by a single key on a keyboard because of numbers, right? Because of statistics. That is the only reason. There's no counterplay, there's no interaction, they just survive. And so a killer like Blight can test that. You know, if someone is running towards an exit gate, I can hit them and I can get to the exit gate before they can. Aha, now it's interesting. Now they have to think, well, if I run through the exit gate, I'm going to die. So now they have to go back into a building or play a pallet or something. Like, it just, it really, like, Blight, more than almost any other killer in the game, forces interaction in some pretty strange areas. And in many ways, you know, going against good survivors, it's fascinating to see what they can do with some really unideal situations, because anyone can play against Freddy and just run towards Badam main building, right? Yeah. Doesn't really take a lot. But like, if a Blight has zoned you from there and you've got to play like the fence pallet or something, you know, like, that's cool, because if someone counters me there, like, that was sick. Like, they're thinking on their feet and stuff, you know. And it's long story short, Blight is just, to me, the ideal killer. Could they do something better? Maybe, but it would be high mobility with a flick, which is basically just Blight.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I play Billy at the end game. You know, fuck your body block. One of you's dying.
Exactly.
If I get somebody on a hook as Billy, one of you is dying. I don't know who it is. One of you's fucking dying this game. Like, so Interestingly enough, while we've been recording this, we got one question on Twitter, and I also got a question in chat that's actually really interesting. I normally don't pull from chat while we're doing these, but it's just a really good question. So I'm gonna ask this last YouTube one, and then we'll do the Twitter and the chat question.
Cool.
And then we'll wrap itself up because we're approaching the 2 hour mark at this point. So Lord Blue asked, "Do you have any new tips or tricks or even suggestions on how beginners should approach learning Blight since they fixed his collision?"
Specifically now, that's a good question. I mean, generally speaking, my advice on how to approach Blight has not really changed. I mean, there are specifics, but like basically speaking, the best thing, in my opinion, that you can do with Blight is kind of like a trial by fire thing. So go into the match with lethal to find someone as quickly as possible, barbecue so that if you down them, and it is an if, it doesn't matter if you do, you can find someone else. Bring deadlock so you can stay in the chases and the gens just go a little bit slower, and then no way out to give you more time in the end game. The absolute best way to learn Blight is to just try and leave. And I understand it's hard. I totally get it, and it's not that easy. But try and leave your ego and your interest in killing even a single survivor at the door, right? Because Blight is a mechanically complicated killer. There's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so realistically, are you going to 4K your first game? Probably not, right? And most of the time that I see people do 4K, it's that they try and rush, it doesn't work, and they resort to playing M1 again. They play with Pop Goes the Weasel and all those other things. And like that's fine for learning to play normal killer and winning the game, but you haven't actually learned anything about Blight. And so the best thing you can do is run lethal, find someone as quickly as possible, and just rush in every single circumstance. Even if you don't think it's possible to rush, even if you know you're going to bump into stuff and it's going to be you know, survivor's going to get away, just learn the rushing, because every time you fail a bump, you're increasing your ability to understand what things you can and can't bump into, the angles to go at, the kind of positions that you want to get survivors away from. And then from there, you can then start to develop it and be like, okay, in this LT wall, I tried to bounce here this last time and I couldn't go anywhere. So I'm not going to bounce here. The difference compared to most people learning Blight is they would look at an LT wall, they don't know how to play it, and they'll say, I'm just not going to bump at all. I'm just going to play normal killer, which is fine for winning, but it's not going to teach you Blight.
Right. I definitely feel that it's one of the things I struggle with on Billy, where I come up across shit that like realistically Billy can't curve. I mean, I'm sure some like I'm sure you know who Uncle Stan Banana is, right? Um,
Of course.
Uncle Stan Banana can fucking curve that shit. I cannot. I get so frustrated. Maybe if I just tried curving everything instead of like giving up and just hitting M1, I would probably learn it. So I think that's great advice, not just for Blight, but for everybody. Just use the fucking power until you figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. And like, you know, killers like Nurse, you know, force you into having to because she is
Hmm.
slower than a survivor. You know, so
Yep.
for Nurse, you physically are required to have to learn the power. But like, you know, I mean, Billy is a great example. Blight, even to a lesser extent, killers like, you know, Spirits or Huntress. You know, like people will get into this position where they know that how to play it as an M1 killer. So oftentimes they will. When alternatively, you could attempt to do the hatchet around the corner. You could attempt to do a short little you know, I've forgotten the name of the spirit thing, you know, the
Yeah.
phasing.
Yeah.
You know, like you could do that, and although you might fail the first time, you're gonna like just always remember that like you are always progressing. If you fail, you are learning from those mistakes. And as Blights, you are going to make a ton of mistakes. He is such a hard killer to learn fundamentally. But like, I promise, if you go in with that kind of mindset and you just chase someone with just rushes the entire time, you are going to be learning more about his power and his turn rate and his collision within one day than most people would do in 2 weeks.
Yeah. No, I definitely see, yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from for sure. Um this question comes from Haley on Twitter. They asks, what was your life like before you began streaming, and how has it changed, or has your life stayed the same?
Hello, I think, is that Crafty Haley?
It is.
Wonderful person. Is that specifically the differences, like what has changed since I've started streaming?
That's what I'm reading it as, yeah.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, it couldn't be any more night and day if you tried. So I mean, before I started streaming, I actually worked at a winery. I was kind of more on the production side of like waxing and things like that. Um, but like I would also kind of produce wine and do various tastings and stuff like that and tours. Um, and so it was very, very different. That was like a very standardized, long hour laborish kind of thing. Um, and with Twitch, my sleep schedule is out of the fucking window. I, I mean, I typically stream from 4 till 10. I don't go to sleep until maybe 6 in the morning. And then I wake up at 2. So like existence in England at those kind of times is very tricky. Um, but like, I mean, it's fantastic. The one thing that I think has changed is my outlook on how much effort it takes to really be a content creator. And I'm not trying to say it's the hardest thing in the world, right? I would never try and do that. But like, you know, when I used to watch people streaming on Twitch, when I used to watch, Otofu or Arts, I still love those guys. I'd sit there and be like, wow, like they're just getting paid to play games. That's so
Hmm.
cool. But it's not that. We kind of discussed this
Yeah.
earlier, but like, you wake up and you have to stream that game
Yeah.
for like 6 hours at a time. So sometimes you sat there and you want to play a bit of Overwatch and you play it for 2 hours and you're like, yeah, I'm kind of done with it now. But you don't get that luxury as a streamer. You have to stream it for your allotted time because consistency and availability is so important. Um, and so I think just generally speaking, my schedule and my ability to live outside of stream has changed drastically. But at the same time, I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
Yeah. No, I agree. This is my dream. I run myself ragged every fucking day. I have insomnia and sleep apnea, so I don't fucking sleep anyway. But like, Lily Pie likes to fucking dog on me all the time because every time I like end up in her chat, I'm like, hey, just drop in a lurk. I'm gonna be editing. She's like, you're always fucking editing, and I'm like, yeah. I'm always script writing. I'm always editing. Like, people in my personal life, like one of my mods, Bratty, her and I talk all the time, and she'll send me, "What you doing?" And I'm like, "Working on videos." And she's like, "Are you ever not?" And I'm like, "Not really." It's
Yeah,
it's a
totally.
it's a 24-hour job, man. It's really something. Like, I'm always like, after you and I get off, I'm gonna go record B-roll for our interview, and then I'm gonna have to like spend, I'm gonna spend like the next couple of days just throwing the B-roll and editing the circles. And like, we had that one technical difficulty where I had to, which it's not a Kaiser stream if there's not technical difficulties, so don't think it's just you. But we had that one technical difficulty I'm gonna have to edit out, and that's just kind of how content creation works, man. It changes your life, but if you really love doing it, I love doing it. It can be stressful sometimes because sometimes I'm like, shit, what am I gonna do for a video next week? But
Yeah.
inevitably, I'm going to come up with ideas. People ask me all the time. They're like, "How do you do daily videos?" I was like, "It is surprisingly hard to run out of shit to talk about in Dead by Daylight. It is
Hmm.
it is surprisingly difficult to run out of shit to talk about." And our
And
last,
I just wanted to mention as well, like something you said there, I think is so true, and it's something that I think every content creator should um hold really close to their heart. Is that like the only way that you're going to get anywhere with this is that if you really love it. If you
mm-hmm.
love what you do and
Oh
you're
yeah,
invested and you enjoy the content, you enjoy making content and watching it back, or playing with people, talking to people, whatever style of content is, it's only going to work if you are invested. Like it's not something like content creation is not something that you just kind of like do as a side thing. It's kind of like, yeah, sometimes I feel like it, but most times I make a video because, or just like, next week, don't bother. Like streaming for a week, and then next week, don't bother. Like, it's something that like, and this very much, I should clarify, like, this is words of affirmation.
mm-hmm.
This is promoting you to go and be a content creator. I think the more
Yeah,
the merrier.
for sure.
But you've really got to love what you do.
Yeah. You have to find a reason. Like, I have a community member who's like big on like paleontology and shit. Like, they loved like dinosaurs and shit. And I was like, they were like, I want to be a content creator. I was like, oh shit, dude, make it about dinosaurs. Because like, they'll come in and like drop like fucking paragraphs of information on dinosaurs. Just I say this as an autistic person, just the most autistic ramblings of dinosaurs. And I'm like, dude, make your content about that. And they're like, oh, but everybody's. I was like, dude, it doesn't fucking matter if everybody's doing it. Everybody's making fucking discussion content. Dude, do you know how often I get compared to like Scott or Otts or somebody like that, where they're like, Otts and Scott do better discussion video. I don't give a fuck. I'm me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
I love doing the discussion videos. I said, you love dinosaurs, dude, just do it. If you love doing the content, if you love the content you're making, even the stress ends up worth it. When that video finally goes live and you see the views roll in, you see the comments and you see people talking about it and everything, it like one day I was scrolling through Twitter and randomly I saw, they didn't tag me or anything, but randomly I saw somebody post a link to my video and they're like, this is one of the greatest videos I've ever seen. And I, like, that shit warms your heart, man. Like, you just gotta love doing it. It's stressful sometimes, but what job isn't?
Yeah, yeah, completely. And I again feel like that is a fantastic point in that, like, you know, the other reality as well with content creation, especially on Twitch, but this also very much goes for YouTube, is that, like, you know, numbers can suck sometimes. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you could have a stream that's really good, and you could have a really bad one. You know, it might be 3 months of nothing, of no new people coming to the stream, or your content is just kind of sat at the same, you know, view level on YouTube for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's the thing, is that, like, when you go into content creation, like, you have to do it because you just love making this content, because it shows. You know, if I watch someone who is invested in a game or community or whatever they're making content on, it's immediately obvious.
Yeah.
And the people that fail are the ones that are doing it because their outlook from the beginning is, I want to do this as a job. Like, I have these very strict goals. You know, I want to see the numbers increase. I want to just be the next Lord Starver. And that's a great aspiration, but that comes as well as loving what you do, even when the numbers are low. You know, because
Yeah.
no one starts with a platform.
Yeah, no, it's really, and you got to be prepared for some shit to just not work, man. Like, I released a Dead by Daylight concept for Scooby Doo. I wanted to, like, who I wanted to get certain Scooby Doo cosmetics. That video still, over a day later, has not broken 1,000 views, which for me is fucking minuscule. All my videos break 1,000 views before the 10-hour mark, all of them. And you gotta learn how to just kind of take it. You know, I was discouraged and I kind of ranted about it to on Twitter. Not ranted. I made like a little frustration post about it, and I was like, it sucks, but I know what doesn't work now. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah, yeah.
You just got to be prepared, man. And if you love the job like I do, then you take those moments, you get frustrated, and then you get. That's the whole thing about playing Dead by Daylight, man. People come in all the time and they're like, "Oh my god, you're getting mad at the game. Like, why are you even playing it?" I do love the game. I'm just getting frustrated. I'm allowed to be frustrated for like half a second.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, of course.
Like, let me get mad at hitboxes, dude. Holy shit. So our final community question before we wrap up today comes from chat, from my VIP Ghost Anonymous, and they said, "What is the biggest misinformation people spread on the Blight?"
Oh, that's such a good question. Hello, Ghost. Hope you're having a wonderful weekend. Or Tuesday if you're not here and you're watching it on YouTube, maybe. Um, Biggest misinformation. Damn, that's such a good question, but I'm on the spot with that one. There's a lot of it. I think there's a lot of misinformation to do with his base kit when it comes to hitting people, for example. You know, a lot of people will kind of get spun, or wiggled is the term that we use, you know, for Survivor, kind of, you know, darting left and right quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that isn't a Blight hitbox issue. That's just a technicality. Like, so Blight has a really big hitbox at the beginning of his swing.
Mm-hmm.
But it only lasts about 5 frames or so. It's a fraction of a second. If you don't hit someone in that hitbox, in that timing, then it transfers from being a very wide cone to being an extremely short cone. And that's not going to hit the majority of survivors. If they just dart out the way slightly, they're probably going to dodge you.
Mm-hmm.
There's things like that. So one specific one, I guess, is not the biggest piece of misinformation, but like there's a lot of technicalities with Blight. Is that I remember there was a big discussion around these slam duration add-ons at one point, and saying that, like, they don't increase your speed, which they kind of shouldn't do if you're looking at it basically, but technically speaking, they should, and they do. There was a lot of misinformation. I had a lot of people coming to me saying, like, James, you are wrong. slam duration others don't do this, and I proved it. Because the thing is with like slam duration, which for anyone that doesn't know is when you bounce into something and then there's a short period where you're able to like think about your next rush. In that period, you can move using WASD or left analog stick. And the reason why it increases speed is not that you're actually going faster, but there's a decline in speed. So at the very beginning, as soon as you start, as soon as you slam into something, you are very fast in your slam duration, but only for a very short period. And then over that 1.25 seconds, it gets slower and slower. When you are, when you increase that slam duration, the window that it's at the maximum speed is significantly longer. And so you're able to move at a much higher speed, which is going to allow you to get through doorways and stuff like that, significantly quicker.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and actually, hold on, just come to mind. I have the perfect answer for you, Ghost. The number one biggest piece of misinformation, and it's something that I still have to deal with to this fucking day, is DPI with Blight. People think that if you crank your DPI up really high, that's how you get the flicks. And I'm not trying to say that people gaslight themselves into thinking this, but they kind of do. It's the same problem with the controller thing where people see someone with a lot of hours on PC do something on Blight and they presume that they can only do that because it's on console. Blight is not a killer that benefits from high DPI in that, like, DPI does not influence your ability to flick. It doesn't give you bigger flicks.
Mm-hmm.
What it does is it makes it more convenient. So if you had a mouse pad the size of an airport runway, you could do a 180 flick, and you attach it to a jet, I guess. If you were to throw your mouse fast enough across that runway, you could do a 180 flick at 1 DPI, the same with I do on 6000 DPI. It's purely about comfortability and your space, right? Blight is not a killer like Slinger or Huntress that you want like pinpoint accuracy with. He's a killer that is going to have a lot of input very constantly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you bounce into something, you have to turn 180 and look at them quickly and then rush. And then you bounce and you turn and you rush and then you have to flick. Like there's a lot of input. And so it's not so much a case of the difference between high DPI and the benefit of that, it's the disadvantage to low DPI.
Yeah.
You can play with low DPI, but just keep in mind that you are going to be moving a lot.
All right. So, there's always two last questions we have. The first one is what character, I think I already know the answer, but what character or characters would you like to see for the B-roll for your interview when this goes to the YouTube?
Trickster. Absolutely. I think that sounds like a wonderful idea. No, and I should specify as well, if you want to use any of my VODs or content as B-roll, then absolutely feel free. That's completely fine. I mean, if I could be specific, I think Birkin would be kind of cool, but I mean, Blight in general.
Blight in general, yeah. I can't get Birkin, but I can definitely do Blight. And the last question is, do you have anything left to say to everybody who watches this in the future?
Of course. I mean, if you're still here in the video, I thank you for watching. Please go and subscribe to Kaiser. They're a fantastic content creator. I've been watching a ton of their stuff on YouTube recently. And it's awesome to see people putting out this kind of discussive stuff and just really speaking their mind. Yeah, I hope you're having a wonderful day. If you do want to check out some Blight gameplay and the spicy flicks and me being very ADHD on a microphone, you can find me on Twitch and hopefully YouTube if I can start to upload videos relatively frequently. But yeah, just have a wonderful day and keep staying handsome.
All right, and if you want to join me in thanking our channel members for all the support that they give, they don't have to give us money, but they do. If you want to find out how to become a channel member today, then please click that join button down below so you get awesome perks like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, and more. And thank you once again, Lilith, for joining me. I love you guys all so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Did you like the background footage and want to see more? Then head on over to my second channel, The Kaiser VODs, where you can see full gameplay, stream compilations, me reacting to your Dead by Daylight clips, and more. We also have a new short that goes up every single day along with the full games. We'll see you over there. Link is in the description.